Hello everyone, it's Tails from Studio Wildfire here, and I have a brand new feature which I'm very excited about, and it's going to be pretty much exclusive to my Patreon supporters. It is access to the Studio Wildfire map tiles, tokens, all the bits and pieces that I create that can be used in Foundry Virtual Tabletop, Foundry VTT. It's all going to be accessible via your Patreon subscription in the Moulinette plugin. So this is going to be a little bit of a video showing how you can build a map tile using Moulinette and how to get access to your map building assets in Moulinette. So let's get started. I have created a small test scene. Now, how I set up my scenes, I'll just go into configuration for this scene, into the grid. So the first thing you'll need to do is set your grid size to 180. That's 180 pixels because all of my map building assets and even tokens are all scaled to 180 pixels per grid square. So each 5 foot by 5 foot grid square is 180 pixels square, and that equals pretty much 1 real world inch to every 3 on-screen pixels. So I find that's a pretty good scale to use. Now, when setting up your map for the first time, what I like to do is grab the good old calculator. Okay, so first, grid type, set it to a square. Grid size, 180. Width and height. Now this is how many pixels you want your map to be. So I grab my good old trusty calculator. Now, for this instance, I'm making it, say, 20 squares by 20 squares. So that'll be 180 times by 20 equals 3,600. So since I'm making a square map, I'll go and put that in here. So 3,600, 3,600. Padding percentage. Now this is how much space it provides around the edge of the map. Now, a number of people like to use the edge of the map to sort of stage assets, pieces that you're going to pull in during the adventure, or if something gets killed, you can drag it off to the side, or whatever like that. I like to have about 1 or 2 blocks on the side. So I've set this to 0.1. Obviously, grid scale, distance is 5. Don't worry about any of the other stuff. So everything's good. Let's go save changes, and our map is now ready to use. So how do we get access to the map tiles in Moulinette? When you install Moulinette, in your let's go to configure settings. No, not that. That's not the one I want. I want manage modules. Okay, so when you install the Moulinette plugins, you will have a bunch of modules for Moulinette. So you'll have the Moulinette core, which is all of its background programming, and then you'll have these extra modules, which are basically asset search modules. So make certain that they're turned on and that you have saved your settings. Now I've already turned it on. Usually when you turn it on for the first time, it'll say it needs to reload Foundry in order for them to work. Just let it go through and do its thing. But I've already got it turned on, so let's go into Moulinette. So you'll see over here on the right that there is a new icon, little hammer, called Moulinette. So you touch on that, and it gives you all these options. Now, the first thing you're going to want to do is link your Patreon account. And you do that by clicking on the Patreon button, and then now I've already linked my account, as you can see. So you click on the link account button, and it'll go through and link up your Patreon account. That's so that it can verify that you're subscribed and you're up to date. And once you do that, you can get access to all the bits that you have for your subscriber level. So the most important thing that we're going to be working with once it's all set up is this button here, Moulinette tiles and tokens. So we click on that, and it opens up this window. Now this is the important bit. This is the business end of Moulinette. And you'll see over the top here that there are a number of areas. So there's tokens, image search, prefabs, scenes, sounds, tokens and tiles, or tiles and tokens. The area that we're going to be most interested in is tiles and tokens, obviously, because that's the main bit that I deal with. But there is a whole world of extra bits and pieces available through Moulinette. Without subscription or whatever like that, just default, it's provided to you. I recommend checking it out. Unfortunately, this video isn't going to be about all the extras in there. It's just about my stuff because, hey, got to do something about me. So, but I recommend checking it out. Also, access to Moulinette is free. This isn't going to cost you extra. The only thing that will cost you extra is if you use the Moulinette cloud storage services. If you're using the Moulinette cloud storage services where you're storing stuff on the Moulinette cloud, then there is a small fee through Moulinette's Patreon service that will get you access to that. But I think it's only like about $2 or $3 a month. It's quite cheap. It's good value. Check it out. Check out Moulinette on Patreon, patreon.com/Moulinette. But let's get back to this. So we click on the tiles and tokens. Now, in order to find the packs, you click on this drop down. So you can see here there's heaps of other stuff. There are heaps of creators. So there's Bailey Wiki, there's Kato Mapster, who else is here? Some of the guys, Love Maps, and there's my stuff, Studio Wildfire. That's what we're looking for at the moment. So what you do is you go and find the pack that you want. So let's go for the Catacombs Map Tiles. Highlight it, give it a moment. It will update the list. If you need to sort of, give it a kick in its pants and get it to go a little bit quicker, click on this button down here, Index Images. Sometimes that can just be useful to do to get it to pull down more information, like the latest update of information. I've already done it this morning, so I didn't really need to do it. But here we go. So let's go back here. So where was I? I was at the Catacomb Map Tiles. So you give it a moment, and it'll update. There we go. Now it's pulling down all this information live from the cloud. So let's start our map building. So all you need to do, there's a number of ways you can view this list. So I'm just viewing it as a straight list. So if I click on an item, you'll see it pop down. It'll show the contents of that folder. There we go. So you can do it like that, or you can do it in a view where it's always showing the contents of each folder. I find this a bit. I personally prefer using this way because I'll just I'll go like, oh, I want the wall overlays. There we go. Or I just want this stuff. There we go. Whereas if you're doing it like this, you got to go hunting for it, and yeah. There's also the tile view, which just shows you everything in that pack. It's the whole lot. It's pretty cool, but again, if you're looking for something specific, it can be a needle in a haystack type view, which is why I like looking at the folder structure. So I'll just show this now. What we're going to be doing for the whole map build is you end up dragging and dropping. So you'll be dragging from this window, dropping onto your canvas. So what we want is to resize this window. So let's get it about 5 across. Put it over there, and then enlarge it a bit. There we go. So you want it off to the side because all we're doing at the moment is we're map building. So the only thing that we're concerned about is having access to our assets, access to our canvas, so we can see our canvas in the background here, and then we've got this over on the side. So now the next important piece before you actually start dragging and dropping things is this little line of information down the bottom here, where it says drop as tile, article, token, asset, grid size. Oh, sorry, or token. Because I've made the panel a little bit smaller, it's all merged into one. So it normally says, yeah, drop as tile, article, or token. Then it's got grid size. Now, obviously, by default, it's 100. But because I use 180 as my grid size, change it to 180. That means that whenever you drop one of your assets, it checks the grid size and it'll say, okay, my grid size is 180, drop it as a 180 pixel square grid item. Now, the next thing we need to do is we need to tell it to drop it as a tile. Now that's pretty important, because if we drop it as an article or a token, it'll treat it as one of those things. We want it to treat it as a tile. So a tile is a map asset. So drop it as a tile. It's going to be dropping it as a grid size 180. That's all you need to do. So let's get this over on the side again. So I like to make it about, you know, five assets across, and then just take up the side there. There we go. So that's all you need to do to set it up. And then it's just a case of going, yep, okay, I'll start with this piece, plonk it down there. So as you see, the message has come up. It's downloading each item as we go through. So when you initially place an item or place an asset, it'll download it. But once it's already placed, it's now local on your machine. It'll come down real quick, you know, almost instantaneous, because it's now drawing that asset from your machine. So let's get rid of those. Let's start with some floor. So let's start with the catacomb rock floor. Here we go. And it's just a case of, you know, map building. So you use the mouse wheel to scroll in and out. And let's start plonking them down. So you'll notice that so when it places the asset, it'll place it just generally on the map. Click on it, drag it into position, and it'll snap to the grid squares. Pretty easy. So let's just build. Oops. And again, it's just drag, drop, place items, place them where you want them. Very, very simple. Let's place a hole in the ground. And place that right there. Whoops. Place that there. So that's our floor. Now let's go and give it some walls. So we want the rock walls. There we are. So let's place that one there. That one there. Oops. Double clicked on it, didn't want to do that. Place that there. And this shows you how quickly you can build up an adventure map using the map tiles. Just scroll through the list a little. So there's an interesting piece of wall section. Now where are our cornerstones and doorways? There we go. See, we want a doorway piece. That's the one we want. Right there. So, you know, we've just quickly built a little room with a hole right in the doorway. Let's go back and build like a corridor. So I've got a corridor that comes around here. So we need to have some walls on that corridor. Passageways and dead ends, that's what we want. So here's a bit of passageway. Now you'll notice that how I've built this map, I start by building the floor first, then I build the walls, because the walls are overlays. Now there is a particular reason that I do that, is because when you place tiles down in Foundry, it will place them on top of what's already there. So if I had have placed, say, this wall down first, and then I placed and then I went, oh, well, I actually wanted, this different floor, and I placed this floor section down next, it'll be over the top of it. Oop, that's not what we want. So in order to change the positioning, so we want this tile to be below this tile. So what we do is get it in place, right click on it to get this menu up, then click on, see these arrows? So that's bring it above, bring it below. So we send it to the back, and now it's in the right spot. Let me just get rid of those. So that's why I start with building the floor first, and then I build the walls on top. And so I want to turn. There we go. So that's a quick way of just building that little piece of map. So as you can see, getting access to the assets is pretty easy to do with Moulinette. It's just a case of, do a search, find the pack that you want. Let's say, you want to go to the dark tech, and, it's just give it a moment to update, and there's your assets. Easy to build maps with. From here I can go and start putting in my line of sight walls. So where is it? Wall controls, there we go. So we want draw walls, there we go. So here's a wall. Oops. Here's a line of sight walls. I'm just following the grid lines here. Snap to position. Oops. I want you to snap to that one. There we go. And then another wall. It's going to go here to close this one off. So when we bring in our character, so I'll close this window, grab an actor. Here's my Tunisian Roman peasant. Have I set him up as, whoops. Let's see, have I given him some vision? Vision is enabled. There we go. Update. So we'll put our Roman peasant here. Let's go into the lighting controls. Let's make it transition to darkness. So hopefully, as it becomes dark, and I click on our actor. Helps. But we can't see. Let me just. I'll give him. Even though he normally wouldn't have it, I'll give him vision. Let's give him dark vision. So it should be more dynamic now. There's a quick little display. No, it's not working the way I thought it would. There we go. We'll just put in a light. So now, there's our basic map that we've made. And it's just a case of, going through and drag and drop all those pieces from Moulinette. Guys, transition us back to daylight. But this just shows you how easy it is to create an adventure map using map tiles, using Moulinette. All of the, depending upon your subscription tier that you're on, if you want access to all of my map tiles, you'll want to subscribe to the World Builder Toolkit or the Completionist level. Completionist gives you access to everything. World Builder Toolkit gives you access to my map tiles and the props and object tokens. So you could go and put, tables and stuff in here. And that's all available through Moulinette, and all available via my Patreon. Thank you very much. Please like, subscribe, smush the the thumbs up, smush the button. Thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy using my goodies through Moulinette and through Foundry VTT. Thank you very much.